Amina woke up to realize that her maid, Zay, had left dirty dishes in the kitchen, which had attracted cockroaches. Enraged at the sight, Amina forced Zay to eat the cockroaches. Unable to revolt, Zay ate them one by one as Amina stood there and watched. Once upon a time, there lived a very wicked woman named Amina, who mistreated all the maids that ever lived with her. Amina had a heart of stone, and her maids were terrified of her, daring not to talk back or even look her in the eyes as she spoke. Amina was such a terrifying boss that her maids only stayed with her for short periods because of her cruelty. Almost every month, Amina searched for a new maid, as none of the girls were willing to endure her wicked acts. One day, a girl named Kaysai was sent to live with Amina after Amina had dealt terribly with her previous maid, who almost died of starvation. Kaysai was from a very poor family and needed the job to cater to her family, who relied on her for their needs. Due to this, Kaysai endured all the ill treatments that Amina meted out on her. One hot afternoon, Kaysai returned home from the well with a heavy pot of water on her head. The pot was so heavy that she struggled to hold it up, causing her to accidentally spill some water on Amina's favorite rug. Amina, realizing what had happened, punished Kaysai by making her stand outside the house in the scorching sun without food or water as punishment for her clumsiness. Kaysai stood under the scorching sun, regretting ever agreeing to work for Amina, who made her life a living hell. Every day was a different nightmare for Kaysai, who only ate sour food and slept for less than 3 hours each day. Even when Kaysai was sick, Amina showed no sympathy. She ensured that Kaysai had no time to rest, forcing her to engage in strenuous chores like scrubbing the floors, washing all the dirty clothes, and fetching heavy barrels of water. Despite being extremely sick, Kaysai endured all that Amina did to her, hoping to save up enough money to help her family, who were languishing in poverty. However, her expectations were cut short when Amina woke up one morning and accused her of stealing her money. Amina claimed that the money in her purse was stolen and decided to search Kaysai's bag. She found some money wrapped and hidden carefully inside the bag. Amina took the money from Kaysai's bag, accusing her of being a thief. Kaysai could not believe her ears as she tried to convince Amina that the money was hers, but nothing she did worked. Amina chased her away from her house, warning her never to return. Kaysai returned to her family empty-handed, as Amina took all that she had ever labored for. With Kaysai gone, Amina began to look for another maid. No one in their village was willing to work for her because of all the horrible things they had heard about her. So, Amina journeyed to a village where no one knew how to find a maid and was directed to a poor old widow who lived alone with her daughter named Adis. Amina promised to take good care of Adis, which was the only reason the poor widow released her daughter to Amina as a maid. However, when Adis arrived at Amina's home, she was confronted with the harsh reality of who her madam truly was. Amina briefed Adis on all the things that she had to do, saying that under no condition should Adis ever be seen loitering around the house jobless. She told Adis that she must be up by 4 a.m. every day and must not go to sleep before 2 in the morning. This meant that Adis had less than 2 hours to sleep daily, as the remaining 22 hours were spent working for her madam. One morning, Amina woke up to realize that Adis had left some dirty dishes in the kitchen, which had attracted some cockroaches. Enraged at the sight, Amina forced Adis to eat the cockroaches, and Adis, unable to revolt, ate them one after the other as Amina stood there and watched. This was the most horrific thing Adis had ever had to do in her life, so the next night, while Amina was fast asleep, Adis packed her bags and ran away for her dear life. Amina woke up the next morning to realize that Adis had packed her bags and gone. This frustrated her greatly as she pondered on how she was going to secure another maid. That afternoon, while Amina was heading to the neighboring village, she came across a poor beggar who approached her to beg for some money. Amina took an interest in the poor beggar and asked about her family. The poor beggar revealed to Amina that she was an orphan who lost her parents many years ago. In that instant, Amina offered her the job of her maid, promising to provide for her needs. The desperate beggar, filled with excitement, agreed to become Amina's maid. They both returned to Amina's home, and the poor beggar, without knowing it, stepped on Amina's rug with her dirty legs. Amina, enraged at the sight, raised her hand to slap her, when suddenly, the poor beggar transformed into a terrifying-looking mermaid. Amina trembled at the sight of the mermaid and almost wet herself. She screamed in extreme fear, pondering what to do. Amina could not believe her eyes. The mermaid, whose voice was so terrifying, ordered Amina to prepare a delicious meal for her. Without hesitation, Amina rushed off to the kitchen to prepare the meal. She could not believe what was happening and began to regret why she invited the complete stranger into her home. Amina watched in silence as the mermaid commanded her to clean the entire house every day, just as she had made her maids do. Amina, now in the position of a maid, scrubbed the floors, washed the clothes, and fetched water from the well. The mermaid watched her closely, ensuring that Amina worked tirelessly without rest. One afternoon, the mermaid ordered Amina to stand outside in the scorching sun without food or water, just as she had done to Kesai. Amina, feeling the unbearable heat, regretted all the times she had punished her maids in this way. She stood there, exhausted and dehydrated, but the mermaid showed no mercy. The mermaid served Amina rotten food filled with maggots, forcing her to eat it despite the foul smell and horrendous taste. Amina gagged and cried, remembering how she had made her maids eat sour food filled with cockroaches. The mermaid's eyes glowed with satisfaction as Amina choked down the disgusting meal. Amina lived through the terrifying experiences she subjected her maids to in the past. But what was more terrifying was that Amina could not escape, as the mermaid was always aware of her plans before she even executed them. One early morning, Amina tried to sneak out of her house. She crawled through the quiet house, careful not to make a sound. She reached the door and slowly opened it, hoping to slip away unnoticed. As soon as she stepped outside, the ground beneath her feet turned into sticky mud that held her fast. No matter how hard Amina struggled, she couldn't move as the mud held her on the spot until the mermaid approached her and took her back into the house. Amina was petrified as she approached the mermaid and pleaded for mercy. She told the mermaid that she had learned her lesson and was willing to change from her evil ways. The mermaid looked at her and laughed, saying she would only leave Amina's home after accomplishing what she came to do. Amina was confused by her statement, wondering what the mermaid was talking about. Days passed, and Amina continued to serve the mermaid diligently without complaints. She experienced firsthand the suffering that she had inflicted on her past mates. Each scenario was a harsh reminder of her past cruelty. Gradually, Amina's heart softened as she began to understand the true value of kindness and empathy. Seeing that Amina had truly changed, the mermaid lifted the enchantment and released Amina from her hold, warning her to change her ways or face a fate far worse than this. Amina, now humbled and changed, vowed to treat everyone with kindness and respect. She went in search of her former mates to apologize for how terribly she had treated them. She even offered Kesai the money she had cunningly taken from her and apologized for ever calling her a thief. Kesai was shocked to see Amina transformed into a kind and considerate woman. She forgave Amina, and Amina returned to her home, happy as she decided never to treat anyone in such a condescending way again. The lesson to be learned from the story is that kindness is not just a virtue but a necessity for a just and harmonious life. Always treat people the way you would like to be treated, as only then will we have a happy world. Your mates are humans too, with blood running through their veins. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of the fact that they are mates. Treat them kindly and be more understanding, as we are all humans first, before anything else.